Hello, this is I'm Feliz, and we are studying the second chapter of outstanding user interface with Shiny. Manipulate HTML tags from R with htmltools. The htmltools was introduced in 2021. I think, no, maybe that's the reference they have. And the main purpose is generate HTML tags from R. Also helps to manage web dependencies. And he hasn't explained very well what those web dependencies. I would imagine, for example, maybe font could be one. You are importing from. I know Google has some resources for fonts. The HTML2 was started from Shine, so many of the functions that we see in this package are also available. But the point was extended, and those tools are really useful not just for Shiny, but anything that's related to HTML, like Quarto documents, Armadown. So we can really use those functions independently of a Shiny app. But for Shiny apps, of course, it's really useful. We can create custom HTML tags and manage the web dependencies. With HTML2, we can manipulate, combine, and rearrange tags, or using just R. And they explain that using those custom, we can even use make this visual like really far away from what we used to have. We usually have in China by default. They say that we can find the code here, and to get HTML2, we can get it for Chrome, or even get the development version from GitHub. And one of the good advantages of using HTML2 is that you don't have to remember if the tab that you are using is you need to open and close the tab. So you just use the tag and it will manage all the things for you. And we show the content inside those tags. It's important to know that name elements will attributes, and you see there is no any name element here in this table, so there is no attribute related to this table. And unnamed will be children. If we want to have attribute that doesn't have anybody, we can just place a name, and we will show like this: input, and show nothing in the other part. They use this trick to print the HTML, because if you are using Armadown, uh, by default it will render the HTML, but we don't want to render the HTML when printing. We want just to show the HTML code. So they use this method to change the the the, the default when you have a single tab or a list of tabs. So it's like you have a tab with one children or many children. And yeah, we can use HTML tools and get all the tags from for this dollar sign. But we also have exported, exported by default. All this P, H1. So we don't always need to code it using this syntax. We can just code it this way. They are the most frequently used ones. But not all no tags will be exported. So we have the nav tag, for example. You can get it using the syntax. You won't be able to get it using the other one. We can also make our custom templates using the with tags. That's basically allowing us to use all the tags available in the syntax stamp dollar sign. Be more useful if you are making templates. You are using many tasks, right? This syntax instead. They really say that it's not the same to use tag list than just use list. And the difference is the class. And that will give a lot of problems. So you have many tasks. Want to make a list? Yeah, use these tasks, and you have this option. They also say that you can use the tag function to create your own tag. So you just place the name of the tab, the class, and this will be the child, the children, the children. So you have children, and inside the children you see the p tag here, and you just render the HTML. You will get the test tag with the class that you create inside the list, and also the child that is the content and also the p tag. It's important creating your tags that it follow the HTML validation rules. They explain that you can also write HTML directly using the function HTML, but
Um,
they really say,
I have a question about custom tag.
Jordan,
So I was wondering, how do we use custom tag? Later, there is an example of tag also that is generated, uh, and uh, I think it's not shown how the tags are used. So I understand like the div function when as we see in the screen right now with div, when we have hello world inside it, running this will also generate a tag. Similarly, the custom tag that was generated on the previous page, that is also a tag. But how is that tag used?
oh,
Any
you mean, for
ideas?
example, okay, the point is that in this case, they are just making a structure for the tags. Right
Yeah.
now, they're not making any difference. Like when you are attaching some format to the div, for example, I want all the tests inside the div to be green, for example,
Hmm.
and you know that your test will change to green. Or I want the boss take this, for example, the picture that we saw at the beginning. I want to have these bots in this way. You can place the div and use CSS to make it look like this.
Yeah.
So basically, the task is just basic for div and spam. Yeah, and
If
for
you go
example,
to the
div and
custom
spam.
tag,
I'm really to that.
sorry, if you go to where they create the custom tag,
Okay, the console tab. Yeah, I think it's below. Yeah, here.
yeah, so once this tag is created, I understand what it contains, but how do we use this custom tag? Do you find any example that uses it somehow?
No, I think they don't yet. It's like well, you can it's like when you have some out right, and you want some specific format. You have many ways to identify that. Like okay, I can create my own tag to know that all these tags I want to this format.
Hmm.
Or I can just refer based on the class or based on this. All of these I like preference to make something later.
Yeah, got it.
Of course, there are some tasks that make changes in the format directly, but for this one, want to you have a bootstrap, format because I know Shiny is running over Bootstrap, and I know they have some
Yeah.
tag, and maybe not all tags are defined in the HTML package in the HTML tools. So I know that these tags have this format is not
Hmm.
listed in HTML tools, so let me just type. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
One other thing that might help with that is that
yeah. So
when
it's
you're
that right?
composing,
Yeah,
sorry, when you're composing these together, you use a tag list, and this custom tag is just another list. So you might do a tag list of div like p whatever, and then you'd include custom tag in that list.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
yes,
Now,
of course,
now I
yeah.
can. Yeah. That
Like
makes sense.
you did here.
All right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's like it's always a list. It's like okay, I have this tag. Why I know I have this tag. It have a name. The label tag. It have attributes. In this case, it's just a class.
Hmm.
But inside the children, you have the same structure again. So I have this also a list. So we have a p tag. We have no attributes in this case because there's no attributes between here, and we have the children character. It's just a test. So yeah, right now we are just using, and this chapter is just about this. It's just how we can change and apply tags and apply attributes. That would make sense once we define what's the style that we want to use for this. And also when we go deeper in the bootstrap ones, what because I know that they have predefined, and also Shiny have a predefined theme, and that will also help us to understand that part. Now they're placing the difference. Like, okay, maybe you have some HTML that you want to keep in your code, and they say if you just place it inside the function that we were using, you will have an error. That's not the behavior that we were expecting. We want to keep the HTML as HTML, so you just declare it. But even though this is a possibility, uh, they really they really say, okay, maybe you are getting the same output. You write this div blah 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 and close div and just write inside the function. Even though the HTML that you are getting is the same, what you don't get is the same class. So they want us to use more R code than HTML code. So this will be our last option possible. Use the HTML. So even though it's useful, maybe you want to use, say maybe at the end of a process, you don't want to use it from the beginning because you won't be able to use that output and using pipes, for example, or in chain that we will see later. And that they also have this hey, avoid mixing estimate and R just wire. Uh, yeah, and they also if you have some estimate code that you need to work with, please use this shiny app. Is in this package. Oh, it's a page. I'm not sure about it. But use this interface, this shiny app, to translate the HTML code that you have into these HTML tools, syntax that we were using. Use table and all things. So you don't need to do it manually. In that case, you will have only a base that is just R. So try to write all in R. And now, even though we have been, talking about this, now they take the time to explain the structure. So every tag is defined by a name. That is the spam div that we see at the beginning. It have attributes that help us to find the tag, to define some CSS, the ID, the class. All these are attributes. The children's that can be more tags. Children can be more tags that have also the same structure. And and the whole object in R have this class. Don't confuse the attribute class. This is the class in R. And now they have, I have a this that have this class, that this HTML class, this ID, and I have a children. First, this is my first child, and also I have a span. And we span have a class, also have an ID. And we are getting this structure. Like it'll be difficult, like, I have a div. To me, it's easier to read from HTML. It's like noisy for having this column structure. I don't. I'm not used to it at this point. But you have a div, and then you have H2, H1, and then a span. So I expected to see div, and then I have a list of two children's, H1, and then the span. What happens if we want to modify this class from child to adult? They say, okay, let's pick my tag, let's pick children, and let's just take the second element, and just they save it in a variable. And okay, now let's go to the class and change to adult. And what happens when we print tag? It does nothing. It's like, by default, this is the behavior we have in htmltools, and this is the normal behavior of our code. I know that mm, the only R6, S6, the object oriented code have a different behavior, but in this case, this is just a copy. Children second is not related to the parent. It's just a copy of this element, and won't affect the original one. For that reason, you need to make a change. You need to write all together. So you need to go to the second element, then get all attributes, and then change the class to adult, and now you will get the result that we want. And yeah, that's a really important principle that we are going to explore deeper here. They have this example from the Chinese RPG, and they have these selectors using basically this drop down list that you can pick with this format. They're trying to mimic what this package is doing for this function, and they start with the default Chinese function select input, and they they also gave us the code. This is the HTML code provided by the original package, not the output of this function. This is from the original package. So they have a div, a label, a select. So you have a div and two chars. So you have variable, and then you can pick from seed, cylinders, transition, here's, and really basic. But the point is that you have a really custom classes and IDs. That's what we want to get. So they just write and run this function based on the basically the basic function, a Chinese function they have here. And this is the HTML that we get at the end. So we have a div, a label. Uh, we see that they doesn't have the same classes, and they have a div here that wasn't before in the other code. So we need to. They want to show us that we can delete this div programmatically, no going manual to HTML code. And they make all these sentences. It's like, oh, I want to remove the the class from the div because you see in this code the div have no attributes. So to remove attributes, you need just to access to the attributes and just take it to null. In this case, they only have class attribute, so they just place the class to null. Then they went and remove also the class attribute from the first element, the first child element. So they just remove the close label, the control label, and keep the variable label as they have here, variable label. And also for, yeah, well, for was already there. So they just need to remove this. And to me, this was the most interesting part, how they overpass removing a whole div and was, you know, relatively easy. Like, okay, I have to select they are my children, my second children is the div. I yeah, I think the div, and then I just pick the first children because the first children of the div is select. I have my first children and just place it to the second place, and it's done. We don't have the div tab anymore. And they say that the class that they have here will depend how many elements we have. The, yeah, so they just create in size is no. You will use this, and the other ones will be the list. A little bit, but you can really automate things doing things like that. Now we have a really more similar code what the function was doing. And yeah, I have thought. Okay, now they say that they also have interesting functions to help us to make these those changes not so manual we did before. We can use tag append attributes. For example, have this tab with no attributes. This will be just. But we want to add an ID. You just need to tab append attributes and add the ID function. Really similar to mutate in deploy. In my, I will make that relation in my mind. Okay, tag append be really similar to what we have in deploy like mutate. But they also have a you can also add more than one. You can even write your own data top no standard they say no standard ones, and you will see each of them added here. And they explain, oh, you will need to do this with this function. You will need to make it into a step. Once just to define the data one, and other one to define the class. You cannot do it just in one step. Also, you have validation functions like that have attribute class. It's good, and that's really good for testing. You because you don't just need to test the shiny logic in the server, but you also need to check in the UI. In the UI is working as you were expecting. And yeah, we have a chapter for testing. You can also get the attribute, so you can get the value. Oh, I have in class, I have test, I can get the test. If not, if you have any value, for example, you in this class we didn't define an ID, so you will get null. Really similar that you were getting, when you want to delete. If you have the attribute, you get null. If you want to delete an attribute, you need to set null. You can also set child to a particular object here. I have this span and I want to add as a children. But what happened? What happened here? I used to have the child father here, and now we just have daughter. Why? Because set children overrides everything you have. Instead, you can use a parent child. In this case, now you won't lose the attack one. Yeah, you are keeping the child. You just add the child you want to add. And of course, you can create your own functions and extend this approach as you need. Uh, yeah, they just insert tab. Yeah, so you can remove using the null. They're just giving us some example for us to think we need to create our own functions. You are making something really often. And now, example, I really like this function. It's like, okay, you have this function, this the tab that you want to change. You have the 3 points, so you are adding arguments. You pick all arguments as a list and make it a character vector, and then you will go for each attribute you will place null. So that's why you have the the class, the ID for the ID. Now you have just hello. Conditional set attributes. In this case, for example, they encourage we're creating a function. Pay attention in the cases when it's null, so you don't get inconsistent values. For example, if somebody just use the functions without the argument using this structure, it will get this result. And maybe it will be hard for you to identify why you are not getting the results. Even it can fail any validation test because you are leaving this empty. But you just have the logic. Is null, please. Don't do nothing. It's like if it's not null, then you can use paste. In that case, now you are getting the output, but if you keep it just blank, you are not getting any errors, and you are not using the adding this attribute as a style without any color. And of course, we can pipe these instructions to our child, and I think that's the way they were thinking that we will use these functions. But remember that sometimes you have to apply the same tab many times. In this case, we have 5 childs. We can use apply just as we do with Shiny, and we can apply the same function over and over, even though it's 1,000 times. We we don't want to repeat ourselves. Or you can use the math function to get the same out. And okay, now that's the first way to edit that. So you are not making many things, so it's not very complicated. That's a good way to go. But they really recommend us a more modern way to use this. It's based on jQuery API. and they were explaining that as you go deeper, it will be harder to modify anything. That's why they're introducing this task query. So you just create your task, and then you will have this function that you will need to get using the $sign. They're using $sign because they're using our. I think I read it somewhere. Maybe we'll see it later. There's its package.
That's how it would look in jQuery if you did it with like actual jQuery.
They say that I don't know jQuery, but they say it's really similar.
Yeah, so the like dollar function stuff, that's all. That's how jQuery does it.
Oh, great. So the functions were to me really similar what we have in for XPath. I have some experience using R best for basic scrapping, and you have really similar function here. So like okay, you have the function find here. Then it's a method because when you have that's the way they call it. Is that you are getting different method from inside the stack query. So you can find all, even though you have a div, and then a pit element, div, you can go straight forward from the root to span. And now that you have all the spans element that you see here, you can use the filter function from this method to to identify this is a function that have the tag available and then ID index. So you have a span one, a span two, span three, just go in order. So just pick the third element. And now that you are getting exactly this output, you can add the attribute class amazing tag, and then you can go in the tree back and go to the root, and then you have the change. And what I think they just repeat the same code here. Okay, now they are going to explain the methods that they have here. So you have all tasks. We go to the room, selected task. It's like they're explaining the output. Okay, then have a show the output. The output is here. When you print the object that you get here, because the tag query shows a shiny tag point query, and it will print the all task part, so you will have the idea of the whole structure, and then the one that we are selecting right now. And now they are explaining a little bit how the functions work. I really like this example. I could really understand better how they work by just using this. Like you are in the root, you are beginning your tag query, and you call the method child. What would you get in the selected tags? It will list the tag, this tag, and this tag because they are the first children they have below. Now, if you use the method find right that child, you will get access to any, based on the filter they have, based on the tag that you have. Grandchild tag, and also even though these are in lower level, you will be able to find, like you will be able to find all the child elements. It doesn't matter where they are, how deep they are. This is one level, two levels, but this one is one, two, and three. So you have elements from the second and the third level. and it doesn't matter. Now that we, for example, let's continue with the example that we just find, and we are in this element now. We can also, from this element, call siblings, and it will refer to all the related objects at the same level. So at this, inside this tag, we have four elements, and we use siblings. We are going to have in the selected part three. And now, after getting siblings, we can use filter. And oh, inside the filter, we can see that only three elements have this green dot in the middle. So it will select these three and don't select this one. What happens if we are at any level and we want to go back to the root level? You just need to call reset selector. It will take you. It doesn't matter which is the level because this is one, two, three. Even at the third level, you can go straight forward to the beginning. And closest chart, closest chart tag. You know, I didn't read that one. Closest. Maybe it's not even listed here. But I know that parents, we show all parents at different levels. Like, okay, this is this level. The next parent is this one, but the parent of that element is this one, so it will be listed. But even though it will go even to the last element to the root, so you will get all parents related to this specific element you are selecting. If you want to go step by step, you can do it like, oh, I want the parent of this one, just one, and you will get this element. And then you want to go to place parent, you can go to this element. So it's a really useful way to navigate across all tasks. And they create this example that have a div type just at the beginning. Then you have an element that is a list. And you know, this is like an estimate, like you are getting, I don't remember this, order. Yeah, it will create bullet points, I think, for this one. You know, this tag is for bullet points. Maybe they will change the behavior, you know, based on the classes, but that's the default for these tags. And then they have a div and then several div inside. But using this syntax, you can find div tab pen, div tab, uh, tab pen. So you are getting div. You're looking for a div element with a pen class. This is a div, and the class is this. So we are in all these elements. And then we can use the filter functions like, okay, from this element, we can extract information that get attribute. So the attribute data value, here you see the attribute data value, show me when the data value is 3. So we are going to pick this one. Really easy. Rather than going, oh, this is the parent, I need to go to the second. Using the normal syntax will be much harder. Most importantly, harder to read. And we cannot just select elements. We can modify elements. If we are in this tag and we call add attribute ID, then it will add the attribute to the element. If then we run has attribute, be, you know, in this element that is saying, it's like this is the past and this is the present maybe. If we run it in the past, it will show false because ID wasn't present at that moment. If we run it in the new element, in the new tag, then you will get the true answer. And we can also remove class from the stack element, and it will remove it. So yeah, we can really make really useful things, and we can add the class fade, add class fade, and here I have added the class fade. And now that was for attributes and classes, attributes and class. Oh, very interesting that the class have their own list because classes are attributes also. But the point is that you can add many classes to the same element. They separate that way. And now we can talk about adding childs, but childs have a specific order, and the order is really important. So if you run, you have this tag element that have also these childs. So we have at the beginning two childs, and you run empty, it will remove all things. Now, if we are, for example, at this level in this chart, and we run before the it will add, I think it will add before it will add thing, insert exactly. It will insert the new child before this element. If you write it from this level, you write the method after it would also insert the content after the data that we were placed. If you are at root level, you can always add a tag at the beginning, at the very beginning of our task using prepend or using append, and you will place at the end. Also, from the root, we can replace a tag. Oh, I don't want to have this child anymore. Let's just use the super tag instead. It also is possible. And of course, you can also remove a specific children. Okay, I want to remove the new children specifically, not all children that we did before. We can remove any children. So yeah, we have control now. We have functions to find any element that we want. We have functions to transform the attributes, and now we can change the charts or using our code. Now they just want to and the icon flat from Bootstrap to the first beginning of, as the first element of each element. So we see here, we see prepend icon. I think yeah, it's this one. All this is they were where we're inserting the I class. Flat is always before the A, inside the A1. So remember this, when you are prepping, it will happen is pasting the same information in the three elements. If you want to insert different information, we will see a method later. But prepend we show the same information, we paste the same information in all the elements that we were selecting, because at this point we were selecting all 8 elements. And the output is really good. Yeah, we have a flag for each of these. And now they can show the change that queries that you can, like the pipe, change all elements and change the values and reset select and go again. So yeah, really you can make really complex changes, and you can empty. And yeah, and we're again in the case that you were selecting the tab pane and you were removing and one, and now you want to have tab one here, tab one two, but when you open as we did before, while you were what we're doing just way was to insert the same information over and over. If we want to add different information, we need to use the each function. Now, over each element that we are selecting, now we can apply the change to the X because the X is the tag element and append the child. And now we are getting a append children. So you have tag one here, tag two, and tag three. So basically that's the takeaway. You want to insert the same thing over and over, append. You want to insert different things, use each. Now that we have this practice, they say, what happens if you want to render a to change the render behavior, like and based on options, and this the render that they have. For example, you are using Shine, and you enable the depth mode, and of course you get option Shiny depth mode. You will get true, and you have some CSS code that you want to apply only if you are in that mode. Let's see this. Only if you are in that mode, and you can add to any tab this element render as an attribute. I think this is an attribute, the attribute point render hook, and you need to apply this function. And while you're inserting here, you are inserting red, a color red, with some border dashed, border color blue. This is that. And also to the custom tab, yeah, you can apply more than one. They are using the add render hook. Add render hook has its own function. So because the difference here, like adding any other attribute, this is an R function. You are not using HTML here. This is not HTML output. So you insert the outcode to run at the moment, and you are getting the list. The render hook, you have two methods. They say that this is useful if you want to change your shiny depending of the theme, but they say that they will go deeper later. In the sample they have here, when you just run the shiny app, you will get this look. You on the development mode, but if you disable the development mode, you will get a different app. So yeah, if the condition is met, then you have this output. If not, then you have a different output. Nested code. What happens if we want to apply something after some render? It's like I have this function and I want to apply it here. So you have the add tag group, and it's this div with child, but the code above is to activate. If you find the new child, then please also add the ID, some ID number. But when they run the function, you are not watching the IDs that you were expecting. And they explain and they try to debug here using browser, just as we do in China, to understand what is going on. And when we run the first part, like highlighting, it's like, oh, I'm here in my function. Let me just highlight what we are getting at onto this point. And they say, oh, it's empty the selection. Why? Why? And when they see the output to some structure, the items, because the error is like here, like okay, I have items here, items work here, and they try to understand what's happening with items at this moment because what that's the element that you are querying, and they see what the problem here is that at this moment when you are evaluating the function, the render hooks is just a function, and that's why when the function is trying to find the attribute, it doesn't find the attribute because it has an execute. So you can use the as tags to convert any arbitrary element to be part of the tag structure. And after making that, you see that the function is not anymore listed, and now you have the class new child, and then it will add the IDs that we were expecting. So to me, as tag is a way to force to run the function. So you need to ask to run the function. It won't do for you. And okay, this was it. Do you have any doubts?
Oh, thank you. Wonderful presentation.
Yeah, perfect. Then that's basically the takeaway of this. It's like, hey, we have these great functions that you will need to get used to them, but please don't estimate code by hand. Try to use more R code better, and also if you write functions in R to write HTML, you can create templates and you will be able to reuse the code over and over. I think that's a really similar behavior from the front end frameworks. I think that you can use JavaScript to make things really like this to render HTML, and don't write HTML over and over, and just use JavaScript to write your templates. So I think we can stop.